Hey, hey. Hello, people. I don't know if anyone else has got like a full moon hangover today. It was such a wild big moon last night in my garden that I was like outside. I was chatting to a new wild witchy friend over in Berlin, and I found myself creating ritual in the garden and calling in the spirits and the wild ones and the ancestors of the land, and lighting candles and pulling tarot cards and then bathing in the full moon in the bath in the garden with my partner. And man, I was like so charged yesterday. It was like but today I've got a bit of I think I've got like a full moon hangover. Has anyone else got a full moon hangover? Can you feel that energy today? I don't know where you're at today. Yeah. So I'm going to talk about pleasure and choosing, like really choosing in your life. Like really choosing. And are you really choosing, or are you like fearing? Are you actually making choices because of what you fear rather than what your soul, what your body really is calling you towards? And I use the word soul, and I spoke about body then because I believe that your body is like your messenger for your soul. And why does any of that matter anyway? Well, I think that in this lifetime there's a certain way in which we can live, like your own unique, totally you way to live, that will bring you the most juicy joy, the most pleasure, the most aliveness. And that, I believe, is like this soul like journey, destiny. And you might get like a reading from an astrologer, and they'll tell you things like my reading said about me being like a leader and me being creating these things in my life and all these things, and it sounded fucking amazing. I was like, oh yeah, I'll have that. And then I was like sitting back, and then I realized it's totally not about that. That's like your destiny is like given to you when you're born in that moment, and it's up to you to live into it. And I believe that your body will lead the way. So I'm a guide for women into their full nature, into discovering the erotic as power in your body. And I don't mean the erotic in terms of like what you see in the media and what you see in porn and what you like, an idea of the erotic, like a woman is like this, the feminine is like this. That's all fucking like, throw that all away. I mean discovering the full juicy aliveness that runs in your veins, and through that your destiny emerges through your body. So for me, one of the first times I can remember this like moment in time where I started to actually follow life, like the unfolding through pleasure, through desire, what I desired. So it was the end of a 9-year relationship. This partner, we were still married, but he'd like left the house and he was going off, and I was like, oh my God. I mean, it was huge to get to this point, and I was emotionally like all over the place. But in that state, it was so clear to me what it was that I desired. And I've Googled meditation and community, and I ended up in this place in Dorset at this conscious clubbing weekend, and had this amazing experiences of sexuality workshops that were totally new to me. Like, I'd never done this before, and it was like this beginning of oh my God, I am now following my bliss, I am now following my pleasure. Like, that point became this point of in my life where I started to study pleasure, study pleasure from the erotic, within me, but also studying pleasure in life. What is life like if I start to follow what feels good? And it got to a point where there just wasn't any choice anymore. It's just I've got to choose what feels good. And hey there, Anna. Now I realise actually even now today that actually I've been studying pleasure my whole life. And I've really been studying pleasure ever since a choice that I made at university at the end of my psychology degree. And of course I got first class honours because I am driven. I'm one of these women that is totally driven to do really freaking well at whatever I'm doing, and I'm sure that you are too. If you're watching this, you've got that part in you as well that is really, really driven. You just know that you're supposed to succeed, that you got this drive in you, whatever that looks like for you, but I'm sure you have that. And I always thought that I was going to study clinical psychology because I've always wanted to help people, and I just thought that that's what I was going to study. But I got to this point in the decision at the end of this undergrad, what am I going to do next? And I realised I didn't want to focus on the problems. I didn't want to go in and help people to and all of that delving into the big problem. What I wanted to do is I wanted to help people to be the best at what they could be. And so I chose something called human factors, which is all about capabilities and limitations of the human. And it's real science, and it's really rooted in actually in safety. But actually, through this time, I'm realizing what I was really studying and working with is actually pleasure. Because people will not do anything in life unless it feels good. Okay, you might do it for a little while, right? You can use willpower to do fucking anything for about 2 weeks or something, or sometimes people use willpower to do a whole lifetime of a job because they're too afraid to choose to do what they really want to do, and they're just use fucking willpower and I don't know, just to get up and get in there and do this other thing every day. But ultimately, most of the time, nothing will be done unless it is pleasurable. So in my work as a human factors consultant, which I worked for about 7 years in safety critical industries all around the world, oil rigs, marine, rail, really looking at safety culture and design of things and making things so that people would actually fucking do the task so that it would be safe. And the reality is, through all these data sets of looking at the capabilities and limitations in the body, on a physical level, how strong is somebody, how big is their hand, what is their body shape, where can you put that, if you need to maintain something, where are you going to put that bolt so that somebody will actually bloody do it? And unless there's an element of ease to it, it's just not going to be done. And if you can create an element of pleasure to it, then it's definitely going to be done. If you can create a system that has some kind of joy in using it, I don't know, the design of the computer program, or the way that the way that that lever works or something, it like has this feedback and has this like ease to it, then somebody is going to totally do it. And you might think of that like at home, if you have like a I don't know if you've ever come across like really good design. I was always really admiring of a design consultancy called IDEO, and they create things that are like really, really beautiful and also functional, but actually the beauty is like one of the main elements, because we get pleasure, like the level of pleasure of using something is not just about like functionality, like can I like turn on my tap. If the tap is also like slender and made of this beautiful metal, and the way that it turns on and off is like really just feels so good, you have this like functionality combined with beauty. And you may have seen IDEO has this lemon squeezer with these really long legs, and you know, you can squeeze the lemon. It's just very beautiful. And so in years and years I've been studying pleasure, and this is so relevant for like you, for anyone in their life. So I work a lot with other professionals who are like psychologists and psychotherapists and osteos and physios and yoga teachers, and I work a lot with people like who do a lot of one-on-one work with others. And what I've found is that people have chosen this calling because they want to work outside of a corporate environment. They want to follow something that is like their like gift, their like soul calling, you know, something that they're really supposed to be doing. And in all that, there's something that seems to often happen. And that is, it's very easy to get caught up in designing a functional life. So functionality being, you know, you're choosing where you work. Maybe you get to work out of your home or somewhere really local. You don't have to travel. You think you're choosing things, right? You think you're choosing. You're like, yeah, I'm going to set up a clinic, and I'm going to like have people working for me, and you think you're choosing, and you've got this like plan, like, you know, in like 3 years time, oh, I won't have to work every day because I'll have all this staff, and all of this sort of stuff that you're creating around you. And in that, there isn't a moment by moment decision that is based on pleasure. Actually, a lot of these decisions, when you come back to it, are often based around fear. They're like a fear-based decision of needing to do something because you want a certain outcome. And yeah, that is true that there's decisions that need to be made for outcomes. But we can get totally lost. You can get very, very lost in life, and actually in the end there won't be success because you create something that doesn't even feel good. So making a decision from a place of pleasure feels very, very different. So making a decision from a place of pleasure is about being right here in the now. It's about choosing what feels really, really good, and then allowing everything else to organize around it. And I'm not saying that you choose to do like nothing, because like why would you be choosing to do nothing anyway? Like when you really like tune into soul, like, you know, you have this like creative life force that totally wants to like come out, so there's just no way you're going to be choosing to do nothing. But you may get caught up in